What if your darkest impulses held the key to your greatest strength? What if the secrets to mastering your reality have been hidden in plain sight for thousands of years? What if everything you thought you knew about Ra, the Egyptian sun god, was just scratching the surface? Prepare to have your mind opened as we journey beyond the myths to uncover Ra's true identity, a cosmic principle so fundamental it shapes existence itself. This isn't just history, it's a profound revelation about the universe. What if the most powerful deity in ancient Egypt had a secret family, deliberately erased from history? You know Ra, the sun god, but you've never heard of his sole wife and their hidden daughter. Until now. Prepare to uncover a family saga more dramatic and impactful than anything etched in hieroglyphs. This is the story of an artifact, a tool of such profound and impossible power that its very existence had to be not just hidden, but erased from the memory of the world. It is the story of the one true instrument of the great scribe, Tehuti, whom you know as Thoth. And it is the secret that proves that the letters and the words you use every single day are not tools of communication. They are the broken and forgotten shards of a divine and terrifying technology of creation. You have been taught that writing is an act of recording, a way to capture a thought, a story, a piece of history on a passive and lifeless surface. This is the first and the most effective lie that the system has ever told you. It is a lie designed to keep you a reader, a consumer of a reality that has already been written for you. The truth is that writing in its original and most powerful form was never an act of recording. It was an act of authoring. It was the science of impressing a coherent and divinely inspired thought directly onto the raw, unmanifest fabric of reality itself. It was the art of turning a symbol into a world. And the tool for this sacred and forbidden art was not a simple reed pen and a pot of ink. It was an artifact, a piece of living, conscious, and lunar technology. A thing that the high priests of the Thothian mystery schools called the Medj Hedge, the silver word, but that is known in the hidden whispers of the lore as the Moonstone Stylus of Thoth. This was not a pen, it was a wand, it was a scepter, and it was a weapon. And in the hands of a master, it could write a star into the sky or write a god out of existence. The system you live in, the great and grinding machine of the Ra program, is a war against this knowledge. It has systematically and relentlessly stripped your language of its magical and creative power. It has turned your sacred and holy alphabet into a set of dead, utilitarian symbols for commerce and for law. It has taught you to be a scribe of the mundane, a recorder of facts and figures, a prisoner of a language that can only describe the cage, but can never, ever dissolve its bars. It has done this because it is terrified of you ever remembering the truth, that you are not here to read the story, you are here to write it. The Moonstone Stylus is the symbol of this forgotten birthright. It is the memory of a time when the word was not just a sound or a shape, but was the living, breathing, and world-creating fire of God itself. And the secrets of its function are not just a key to understanding the past. They are the key to unlocking the terrifying and beautiful power that is sleeping in your own silent and waiting hand. The stylus is not a product of this earth. It is a piece of fallen, celestial technology, a relic from a time before the Great War, before the schism, before the amnesia. The records of the Thothian schools describe its origin with a stark and beautiful clarity. It was a gift. It was brought to this world by the Syrian architects, the master librarians of the cosmos, as the primary tool for the great work, the project of terraforming the Earth not just into a habitable planet, but into a living library, a conscious and self-aware jewel in the galactic network. The stylus was the instrument that would be used to write the sacred, geometric, and life-affirming laws of Ma'at directly into the energetic grid of the planet. It was the pen that would be used to compose the great symphony of life on Earth. Its physical form is a paradox. It is said to be carved from a single, flawless piece of moonstone. But this is not the moonstone of our world. It is a piece of our own moon, from a time when the moon was not a dead rock, but a living, watery, and crystalline world, a satellite of the great water planet, Maldek, before it was destroyed. This lunar crystal has a unique and profound property. It is a perfect, passive, and programmable resonator for the subconscious mind. It is a feminine stone, a stone of the goddess. It does not generate power, it receives it. It is a perfect and flawless mirror for the deep, silent, and intuitive wisdom of the soul. It is the ultimate technology of the Tahuti principle. The stylus is cool to the touch. It is a vessel of the silver, lunar light, the light of gnosis, the light that illuminates the darkness without abolishing it. But the stylus does not write with ink. This is the second and most crucial secret of its function. It writes with the life force of the user. It writes with sekhem, the raw, creative, and divine energy that is the source of your own personal power. The tip of the stylus is not a solid point. It is a focused, energetic vortex. When the user holds the stylus and prepares to write, they must form a conscious and willing circuit with the artifact. The lunar crystal of the stylus attunes itself to the user's heart, to their subconscious, and it begins to draw a small and precise amount of their own spiritual energy, their sekhem, down their arm into the pen, and it focuses this raw, living light into a single, coherent, and infinitely fine point. The stylus, therefore, does not write on a surface. It projects a beam of the user's own living soul. It is an act of profound and intimate creation, and it is an act that comes with a cost. To use the stylus is to give a piece of your own life to the creation. This is why it could only be wielded by the highest initiates, by those who had mastered the science of their own, inner, energetic alchemy, who knew how to generate their own sekhem in a clean, pure, and abundant way. For an uninitiated person to even attempt to use it, the stylus would simply drain them, leaving them a dry and empty husk in a matter of seconds. And what is the canvas upon which it writes? It does not write on stone or papyrus. It writes on the one true and universal canvas. It writes on the prima materia, the unmanifest and potential void of the quantum field itself. It writes on what the Egyptians called the Nu, the dark, silent, and watery abyss of pre-creation. To write with a stylus is to be the first god, to be Atum standing on the primordial mound and bringing the first coherent thought into the infinite and chaotic ocean of potential. And it writes not in words, but in symbols, in hieroglyphs. The sacred and holy glyphs, the Medu Neter, the words of the gods, are not a language. They are a science. Each glyph is not a picture of a thing. It is the energetic, geometric, and vibrational signature of that thing's very existence. It is the source code. The glyph for water is not a representation of water. It is the command that organizes the energy of the quantum field into the pattern of water. To draw the symbol for life, the ankh, with the stylus, is not to make a picture of a cross with a loop. It is to project the very frequency of life, of creation, of the sacred and generative union of the masculine and the feminine into the void. And the void has no choice but to obey. The symbol, written with the life force of a god on the canvas of all potential, becomes a world. This is not magic. It is the forgotten physics of your own divine and glorious imagination. The war for the control of humanity has always been a war for the control of the word. It has been a war for the ownership of the stylus. In the golden age of the Syrian covenant, the hedge was the primary tool of the Thothian priesthood. It was used with a sacred and beautiful precision. They were the gardeners of a planetary paradise. They used the stylus to write the codes of life into the very soil of the earth. They wrote the geometric patterns of the winds and the currents. They composed the song of the seasons. They wrote the blueprints for the great harmonic cities of light. And they used it to gently and lovingly edit the genetic code of the evolving human species, to write the potential for divinity directly into our blood. This was a time of creation, of harmony, of a reality that was being consciously and beautifully authored day by day by a brotherhood of enlightened and benevolent artists. But the rise of the solar cult of Ra, the infection of the Apep virus, turned this paradise into a battlefield. The Ra program is, at its core, a program of censorship. It is the philosophy of the single, monolithic, and jealous author. Ra could not tolerate a world with multiple creators. He could not tolerate a science that gave the power of the word to anyone but himself. The stylus, the tool of the sovereign and individual creator, became the most hated and the most feared object in the universe to the new solar tyranny. The sons of Belial, the priests of Ra, did not seek to use the stylus. They sought to destroy it. They knew that as long as this tool existed, as long as the memory of a decentralized and co-creative reality was alive, their own top-down and fear-based program of control could never be absolute. The great war between the two priesthoods, the war that has been mythologized as the battle between Horus and Set, was, on an esoteric level, a war for the control of this one single artifact. The loyalist priests of the Thothian and Syrian lineage fought to protect the stylus. The sons of Belial fought to capture and to neutralize it. The records of this war are almost entirely gone, erased in the great revisionist project of the Ra program. But the echoes remain. The legends of Thoth's Book of Life, a book in which the fate of every soul was written, are a distorted memory of the stylus. The book was not a record. It was a tool, and Thoth was not just reading the fates. He was, in some cases, writing them. But the Ra program had a more subtle and a more effective strategy than simple physical warfare. They knew they could not just destroy the stylus. It was a part of the fundamental technology of this reality. So they began a long, slow, and brilliant campaign to make the stylus and the science it represented obsolete. They began the war on the word itself. They began the process of systematically and deliberately stripping language of its creative and magical power. They took the sacred, multidimensional, and resonant hieroglyphs of the Medu Netta and they flattened them. They turned them into a simple, two-dimensional, and purely descriptive alphabet. They took a language that was a technology for programming reality and they turned it into a tool for recording taxes. They took the magic out of the word and they replaced it with grammar. This is the true and hidden meaning of the biblical story of the Tower of Babel. It was not a story of God punishing the arrogance of man. It was the story of the Ra program deliberately and systematically shattering the one unified and magical language of humanity and replacing it with 1,000 different and powerless tongues. It was an act of linguistic warfare. They created a world where we could still talk, but where we could no longer create. The final act of this drama was the hiding of the stylus. Tahuti, seeing that the war was lost, that the dark age of the Rai program was inevitable, knew that he had to protect the stylus from the hands of the new tyrant god. He could not just bury it. The sons of Belial would have scoured the earth to find it. He had to hide it in a place that was both everywhere and nowhere at once. He had to hide it in a riddle. The esoteric texts say that he took the Medj hedge and he broke it into 2 pieces. He took the body of the stylus, the moonstone crystal, the receptive feminine half of the artifact, and he hid it in the heart of the moon itself, returning the sacred stone to its celestial home. And he took the power of the stylus, its energetic signature, its ability to focus the will, the masculine half of the artifact, and he hid it in the heart of the sun, in the very stronghold of his enemy. It was an act of pure, paradoxical genius. He had hidden the 2 complementary halves of the ultimate creative tool in the 2 opposing poles of our own sky. And he knew that the stylus could not be made whole again, that its power could not be reclaimed until a new humanity had been born, a humanity that had healed the great schism between the sun and the moon, between the masculine and the feminine, between the Ra and the Tahuti within their own hearts. The legacy of this shattered and hidden tool is the very foundation of your modern world. You are living in a reality that is a direct consequence of the war for the word. The power that was once held in a single, conscious and sacred instrument has been fragmented and scattered, and its broken pieces have been turned into the chains of your own enslavement. The power of the symbol, which was once a tool for the initiate to program reality, has been co-opted by the system and has been turned into the science of corporate branding and political propaganda. The logos, the sigils, the flags that you see every single day are a form of low-grade, unconscious magic. They are symbols that have been charged with the collective, emotional energy of millions of people, and they are being used to write a story of control, of conformity, of a reality that serves the few at the expense of the many. The power of the written contract, which was once a sacred and binding act of co-creation between 2 sovereign souls, has been turned into the soul-crushing and incomprehensible legal system that governs your world. The fine print, the clauses, the legal jargon, this is a perversion of the sacred language. It is a form of linguistic witchcraft, designed to bind you, to trap you, to siphon your life force through the power of a signature that you have given without a full and conscious understanding of the spell you are casting upon yourself. You are not signing a document, you are selling a piece of your soul. And the most powerful and the most tragic echo of the stylus is the very book that you hold in your hand. The holy books, the scriptures, the texts that have been used to create the great religions of the world are the ultimate and most brilliant perversion of the Thothian science. The system took the idea of a sacred and world-creating text, and it created its own. It wrote its own book, a book that tells you that you are a sinner, that you are powerless, that you need an external savior, a book that gives you a set of rules to obey, a God to fear, a history to believe. And it has used this book, this single, static, and unchanging story to put the consciousness of half the planet to sleep for 2,000 years. It has taken the living, breathing, and ever-evolving magic of the word, and it has turned it into a dead and dogmatic idol. It has given you a book to read so that you would forget that you were born to be a writer. But the true stylus was never destroyed. its two shattered halves are still there, waiting. The feminine, receptive, and intuitive power is sleeping in the silent, silver light of the moon. And the masculine, projective, and creative power is hidden in the fiery, golden heart of the sun. And you are the third principle. You are the alchemist. You are the living, breathing, and conscious temple in which these two opposing forces can finally be brought back into a sacred and holy union. You are the one who can make the pen whole again. Not by traveling to the heavens, but by journeying into the heart of your own inner cosmos. You have a sun in your solar plexus. You have a moon in your third eye. And when you can bring the fire of your own sovereign will into a perfect and loving marriage with the deep, silent, and intuitive wisdom of your own receptive soul, you are no longer just a reader of the world. You have become the living stylus. And your own life becomes the sacred and holy text that you are writing, line by line, breath by breath, with every single conscious and deliberate choice you make. The path of the modern scribe is the path of reclaiming the magic that has been stolen from your own language. It is the journey of turning your words from dead descriptions into living creations. And it begins with a radical and uncompromising act of linguistic hygiene. You must first stop speaking the language of the prison. You must become a ruthless detective of your own internal and external speech. And you must hunt down and eliminate every single word, every single phrase, every single story that is a part of the raw program of self-limitation. The words, "I can't." The story, "I'm not good enough." The phrase, "That's just the way it is." These are not descriptions. They are spells. They are self-fulfilling prophecies. They are the unconscious and tragic act of you using your own divine and creative power to write the blueprints for your own cage. The first step to becoming a magician is to stop casting black magic upon yourself. Once you have begun to clear the dissonant and self-destructive code from your own language, you must then begin the sacred work of learning to speak the language of creation. This is the science that the modern manifestation movement has so tragically and so completely misunderstood. It is not about repeating positive affirmations that you do not believe. That is like a child who has found their parents' car keys and is just pushing random buttons, hoping that the car will start. The true science is the science of the declarative command. It is the art of speaking a new reality into being, not as a hopeful request, but as a statement of fact that has already been decided in the higher realms of your own sovereign mind. You do not say, "I hope I will be abundant." You do not even say, "I am abundant." You enter a state of deep inner gnosis, and you speak the law. You say, "Let there be abundance." And you say it with the calm, quiet, and unshakable authority of a God who knows that the universe has no choice but to obey a clear, coherent, and unwavering command. This is the power of the inner stylus. Your consciousness is the pen. The infinite potential field of the quantum void is the canvas. And your own coherent and life force infused intention is the ink. The practice of this is the lost art of sacred journaling. Your journal is not a diary in which you record the sad and petty dramas of your day. Your journal is a grimoire. It is a book of spells. It is the place where you are the god of your own universe, where you are writing the next chapter of your own holy book into existence. You do not write what you hope will happen. You write what is happening. You write the story of your success, of your healing, of your triumph, in the present tense, as if it is a memory of a thing that has already been gloriously and perfectly achieved. And you write it with all of the passion, all of the gratitude, all of the deep, cellular, and emotional reality that you can muster. You are not describing a future. You are creating a memory of it in advance. And the universe, which cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined and emotionally charged memory and a real one, will begin to bend space and time to make the external reality match the new and dominant truth that you have written on the inside. This is not a game for children. This is a science that requires a profound and unwavering discipline. You cannot write, "I am a master of my reality," in your journal in the morning, and then spend the rest of your day complaining about the traffic, gossiping about your neighbor, and worrying about your bills. That is to write one line of divine and holy scripture, and then to scribble all over it with 1,000 lines of chaotic and fearful graffiti. The universe will always respond to the dominant message. The work is to make the story you are consciously writing in your sacred book the one and only story that you are telling, with your thoughts, with your words, and with your entire energetic state of being. This is the path that Tahuti laid out. It is the path of becoming the scribe of your own soul, the author of your own destiny. It is the choice to pick up the forgotten pieces of your own divine and creative power, and to finally, after a long and tragic age of illiteracy, remember how to write. The final, unspoken secret is that the stylus is not just a tool for creation, it is a tool of perception. It is a key that unlocks the deepest and most hidden library of all, the Akashic records. But the records are not a dusty celestial library of books that you read. The records are a living, holographic, and interactive field of information, and the stylus is the interface that allows you to not just read the records, but to edit them. This is the most dangerous and the most forbidden knowledge of all, and it is the secret that separates the master magician from every other being in the universe. The story of your past is not a fixed and unchangeable thing. It is a story, it is a memory, it is an energetic pattern that is stored in the fabric of the quantum field. And it is a pattern that is still, in this very moment, broadcasting a frequency that is co-creating your present reality, your unhealed traumas, your ancestral patterns, your so-called karmic debts. All of these are active, living programs from the past that are running your life today. The conventional wisdom, even the spiritual wisdom, is that you must heal these things, that you must process them, that you must learn to live with them. But the final, forbidden science of the stylus teaches something far more radical. It teaches that you do not have to just heal the past, you can rewrite it. This is not about denying what happened, it is about changing the meaning of what happened on a fundamental and causal level. Using the inner stylus of your own, focused and coherent consciousness, you can journey back in time, not physically, but energetically, to the moment of a primary, wounding event. And you can, with the power of your own, adult and sovereign awareness, become a new character in that old drama. You can become the loving parent that your inner child needed. You can become the wise teacher who can explain the lesson behind the pain. You can become the powerful protector who can stand up to the bully. You are not changing the events. You are changing the story. You are changing the energetic and emotional charge of the memory. You are taking a story that was written in the ink of fear and of pain, and you are overwriting it with a new story, a story that is written in the ink of wisdom, of compassion, and of love. When you do this, a miracle occurs. You are not just healing a memory in your own mind. You are sending a new, coherent, and healing frequency back through the corridors of time. You are changing the record. And as the record in the past is changed, the echo of that record in the present moment is also instantly and automatically transformed. The old, self-sabotaging pattern that was being generated by that unhealed wound simply dissolves. The trigger loses its power. The chain is broken. You have not just healed yourself, you have liberated your future from the prison of your past. This is the ultimate alchemy. It is the science of soul retrieval, of timeline healing, of becoming the conscious and loving author of your own entire and eternal story. This is a power of such immense and terrifying scope that Tahuti knew it had to be the final and most guarded secret of all. Because in the hands of an unintegrated, ego-driven and wounded being, this same power could be used to create a nightmare. It could be used to write stories of blame, of revenge, of self-pity that would not just wound the self, but that would send a poison back through the very fabric of time itself. This is why all the other work must come first. The purification, the integration, the balancing of the inner sun and the inner moon. You must become the healed and sovereign Horus before you can be trusted with the pen of the Father. You must earn the right to become the author of your own book. This is the final invitation of the great scribe. He is not just inviting you to read his story, he is inviting you to pick up your own pen. He is inviting you to become a co-author of a new and more beautiful reality, not just for yourself, but for the entire world. The age of being a reader is over. The age of being a character in someone else's tragic and repetitive story is over. The great, unwritten book of the future is lying open before you. Its pages are the silent and potential void of the quantum field, and the pen is in your hand. The only question that remains is this: what story will you choose to write? If this video resonated with you, let us know by commenting, "I understood it."